talking a little bit about what makes an appropriate scientific question. That way you can have a good topic for your science fair project. So to meet the standards for it, you want to make sure that your question is a testifiable question. So you want to have two variables, something that has a cause and effect. So if some of the example questions are like, if a bird's diet is X, then the color of its egg is going to be Y. So if you're interested in, say, like, why do certain trees grow in the same area, it's like a good start for a question, but then you need to think about the factor of what causes trees to grow in certain areas. So does the pH of the soil affect the type of trees that grow in it? Information like that. So you want to make sure your question is a testable question and that it identifies the cause and effect relationship. And you also want to make sure that the rationale for the question that you chose, you want to make sure it's got some like there's a reason for doing it, that it's important to the public somehow. So somebody who is not in your class, or even if they are in your class, is going to be able to use what you discovered and apply it to like their life somehow. If you want to exceed the standards, you can or you should use background research to support the significance of your question. So say you're testing like the pH of the lake, then you could research how fertilizers like increase the pH of the lake. Just make sure that you've done some background research that explains like who could use it and why it's an important thing to be studying. So for the predicting aspect that you're going to do today, you're going to come up with your subject and your question for your experiment. And then you want to predict what's going to happen with like your two variables. So if you're doing rockets, like...
Please, pardon the interruption, Valerie Grattan to the main office. Valerie Grattan to the main office.
You're in trouble.
It's not in here.
Right. So if you're doing, say, like, does the size of a car affect how fast it's going to go? You can say, I predict that the greater the mass of a car, the faster it will go. Something like that. So you need to clearly state the outcome of your experiment, or like what you predict it's going to be, as well as identifying the relationship between the manipulated and the responding variable. So explain how if you change one factor about it, then how the outcome is going to change as well. Okay? So some of the example questions that we should look at. Well, you actually have to take into consideration, is it possible that you can do your experiment in the 3 weeks that you have? So if you're going to be measuring something over time, just make sure it's like a feasible thing to do. Make sure you obviously want to be interested in it because you're going to be spending a ton of time on it. So you want to make sure it's something that you find fascinating and that you're going to learn from. And make sure that it's a testable question. Alright, so some example questions that we can look at. Do you guys all have this sheet?
We do now.
Alright, flip it over. And on the back are questions that Ms. Chandler doesn't really want you to use, but they would all be good questions that you could use on it. So just take a look at this and somebody like shout out a question that they think would be, or that you guys want to look at, because we'll do an example of what you're going to be doing today.
No, it's better. Does leaf color affect how much sun it gets? Does how much sun a tree gets affect what the leaf color is going to be?
Okay. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Is that what you came up with right on the spot?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah, that's the perfect question.
I'm smart.
Alright, so the way that you would fill out this sheet with it is, for these 3 bullets, you don't have to fill out all of them, but they're all like starters for making your rough draft of your question. So we would do, does amount of sun affect the color of a leaf?
Yeah.
Yeah?
The color of a leaf.
question, you would really just rewrite pretty much like what the question above is. Does the amount of sun affect the color of the leaf? And so then, what's the rationale for doing this? This is the part where you have to say why it's an important question. Like, who could use the information that you gain from it?
Treologist.
Arboretum people.
Tree huggers.
Yeah.
So why would that question be important?
Yeah.
If it would be a good place to have like a tree farm.
Farm,
a
forest?
Yeah. If they had just like healthy trees or something.
Okay. Or like say you're trying to like make an arboretum that had like beautiful tree colors in the fall or something.
Yeah.
Alright, so say
There's such thing as tree. You get a deduction on your taxes when you plant trees. Yes, you do. I'm dead serious.
Alright, so I'm writing for somebody who is trying to create an arboretum. Sounds good.
Wait, what's that?
An arboretum is just like a farm of trees, basically.
A tree farm.
Okay. And then the prediction and rough draft part. I assume that you guys have probably done this before in classes and everything, but what do you guys predict would happen? Like, what do you think is the relationship between the amount of sun that a tree gets and the color of its leaves?
The more sun, the brighter color.
If the sun has more, if the tree has more
Sunlight.
sun, then the leaves are greener because it has more sun.
Okay, so if, let's say if the tree,
Sometimes you gotta work out, but otherwise it's nice.
I think your ideas are like pretty much right. If the tree receives more sunlight, then the leaves will be more colorful. And does anyone know why that is?
Vitamin D?
Big word.
Vitamin D. Photosynthesis.
Yeah, that one.
Vitamin.
Corey, is vitamin D part of it?
Plants are greener because do you guys know photosynthesis yet?
Photosynthesis. They got it.
Yeah, it's because they can photosynthesize more, which allows them to produce more food, which makes their
Sorry,
leaves
Miss
greener.
Lena. Photosynthesis.
Okay. Alright, so now if you guys want to get in your groups, if you're not already in your groups, then you want to assign a reporter and a recorder, because we're going to, at the end of this, get into the circle. We're going to get to a circle and talk about what your project ideas are. And if we have enough time, then we can give feedback on like what people think about it, and if there would be like ideas or recommendations to like make your project even more awesome.
Boom.
So,
I can't get any more.
I also want to say, just Miss Brewer and I will be checking.
what? Make sure you fill this out, because you want it so someone who isn't somebody in your group looks at this, they know like exactly what you're doing.
What does that mean? Run. Okay, we're gonna take
Temperature is best for making ice cream.
Where's our class?
I just need to
It says here, you can do that.
These questions are all sort of the same. Just asking you.
Hello. Objectives? That piece? Did you do your objectives or whatever this is?
We're
for
trying to figure out how to make a hydro-powered car.
We're gonna see if it's possible.
You're trying to start it. Tell me about it.
Guess what? We're going to make an electric-powered car and a hydro and see which is more fuel efficient. Logan, if that fails, we're making a
Great.
clock potato. Yes, and if that is too expensive, we're making a clock potato.
A clock potato? Oh, I've seen